Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a beginner lesson, and this is going to be ultimate beginner lesson. And I'm just going to be teaching how to move the piece, and I'm going to show how you should play the game and your thinking strategies. And this might be a long video, but it'll be worthwhile, I'm telling you. So I know quite a few of the viewers of this of my videos are quite absolute beginners. Not quite absolute, they're beginners, so I'm just gonna do some more beginner lessons and see if it helps. Okay, so in chess you have let's come here. Okay, in chess you have 16 chess pieces on a board which has 64 squares, which has files. So no, sorry, these are called as files, and they have letters on them. So this would be, all of these squares would be a square on the A file. All of these would be the square on the E file. All of these squares would be a square on the 8th rank. It's not called a row, it's called a rank. Any squares on this would be called the 4th rank. And let's say you move this pawn 2 squares, you would say pawn to A4, except with chess notation you don't include PA4. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. So I'm going to talk about how the pawn moves first of all. Ignore all of this because I've just set up a position purely for instructive purposes, so don't look at those stuff. I mean, I'll turn them on, but just don't get distracted. Okay. Pawns, on the first move, they will always be, look back, so they will be on the second rank. Remember, all of these will be on the second rank. On the first move, they can move 2 squares or 1 square. But once they've moved 1 square, we'll just do a random move. They cannot move 2 squares now. They can only move 1 square. But let's say you just do this or something. You can if you haven't moved a pawn 2 squares on the first move, doesn't mean that you can't move it on the next move. For example, you can play this move or this move. Anyway, okay, so pawns move 2 squares. Okay, and the way they capture, so pawns move 2 squares on their first turn, but otherwise, okay, we'll just play a random move there. I'll tell you about the king later. Actually, I'll tell you about the king right now. No, king moves 1 square in any direction. See this? Okay. The king can. Oh, I need to tell you another rule. You can't capture your own pieces, and yeah. So you can't capture this, basically. The king moves 1 square in any direction, and the aim of the. I'll tell you the aim of the game later. I'm sorry. Okay. So pawns move 2 squares on their first move, but let's say they move 1 square. As I've said, we'll make a random move here. The pawn can't move 2 squares now. It can only move 1 square. And the way pawns capture is they capture like this. No, sorry. Pawns capture diagonally. So instead of forwards, pawns capture diagonally. And that's, oh, 1 minute, I need to show you. Okay, this is a special rule. I don't know why I'm showing it right now. Okay, if a pawn gets to the 5th rank, as like your player, yeah, if it's black, it'll be on the 4th rank. As black if your pawn's on the 4th rank, and as white if your pawn's on the 5th rank. If your opponent moves the pawn like on the next file to the pawn which you just pushed, and they move it 2 squares, you can actually take the pawn diagonally, remember, as if the pawn's only moved 1 square. So you can actually win a pawn sometimes in those positions, and that can prove to be quite a useful rule, but if you don't remember that, that's fine. Okay. Yeah. Next position. Ooh. to load all these. Ignore this as I said. Okay, so you know how kings move? Yep. So knights. This is quite a confusing thing to say. Knights move in an L shape. L shape. Another way to describe it is they move one square any direction, and then they move 2 squares in another direction. For example, 1 square, 2 square, 2 squares, 1 square, 2 squares, 1 square, 2 squares, 1 square, and then 2 squares. So that's how the knight moves. And the knight captures the same way. Don't worry, it's not as confusing as pawns. They just move that like that. Yeah. But the special thing about knights is all the other pieces we see here, they can actually can't move over pawns because pawns would obstruct them. So usually you would think that knights would just be stuck here forever until you can get this pawn to move. But actually knights can just jump over the pieces. Ignore that. Yeah. So knights can just jump over pawns actually. And I think that's it for knights. And remember, this queen was free. Anyway. Okay. And now it's, what is it? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, we're gonna talk about rooks now. Okay, rooks move horizontally and vertically in any direction. Okay. And they capture in the same way. So let's say we'll just play a random move. They can capture this. Ignore that noise. I'll talk about it later. But the rook cannot move past that. Whereas if there was a knight here, remember knights, yeah? It could have hopped over the rook. Ignore this. Wait, imagine there's a knight there, yeah? Remember knights, like these pieces. They can move over the piece, but no other pieces can go through a piece. Except for a knight, because it moves weirdly, basically. But of course you can just capture here. Anyway. And another way... 1 minute. Sorry. Okay. And what else? Oh yeah, sorry, queens. Okay, queens move in any direction they want. They can move vertically, horizontally. Let's get this queen to the middle. Ignore. Wait. Turn off all of this. What do you think would be? What do you think you can capture? Right now. Pause the video and think about it. And yeah, there are 2 captures you can do right now with the rook. Yeah, pause the video. Yeah, well, if you found it, it's rook captures here and rook captures here. Anyway, sorry. Okay, and oh wow, what was I talking about again? Oh wow. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Queens. The queen right now can capture this. That's one thing you should take into account. Remember, but the queen cannot go through this. Yeah. If the queen was here, and let's say the queen was here, the queen cannot capture here. The queen is just unable to capture like that. Something you need to remember. I mean, move like that. The queen cannot move through the queen, but the queen can capture. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's all the pieces movement covered. Okay. Oh, wait, did I miss the check thing? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh. It's fine. We'll talk about this. Okay. The aim of the game... Oh, jeez, I'll move this back. Okay. The aim of a game of chess is to get the king... Okay, wait. So, one thing you can do in chess, which you can't do in most board games, is you can... The king is basically the target in a game. The target is... This is called a check in chess. It's basically where the king is under attack, and if the king just does this, for example, which it can't do because we're on like a proper site, the queen would capture the king. But the problem is, the king. The aim of the game is you can't let the king be captured. So, king has to. So the success criteria for this is the king either has to move. Okay, let's imagine there was a knight here, yeah. Interpose, which means block the check, or imagine there's a bishop here. Wait, I didn't talk about bishops, did I? Okay, bishops. Oh, ignore this. Just something. That's not a good move. Bishops move diagonally. Sorry. Okay. Imagine there's a bishop here. Remember, moves diagonally now. It would be able to come from here to here, and would block the check. Oh no, sorry. Wait, no. Imagine a bishop was here, yeah. It would be able to capture. So the way to escape a check is to escape, run for it, block it, or take it. Okay, and the aim of the game. 1 minute. 1 minute. I need to. 1 minute. I'll still mate. Wow, I love how I'm teaching people on this still mate. Sorry. 1 minute. Okay. The aim of the game is to get the king in a check. Remember, check is attacking the king, forcing it to move. Is to get the king into a check, in which it cannot interpose, in which a piece of it cannot interpose, so block. A piece cannot capture the thing which is checking, and the king cannot escape. So in this position, nothing can block for the black pieces. Nothing can take, because it's only the king, and this king is shoving off the other king. Like if you came here in an actual game, the white king would just take back. Also, I've heard lots of people saying, I'll just show an example. I've heard people saying, if I go here, he will kill me. It's not killing, say capture. But because chess is meant to be violent, but it's not really meant to be. To just say capture. Yeah, capture is more of a technical word. Okay. So now if you remember all of the pieces, pause the video and I'm going to tell you how does this piece move. Can this piece move on the first move? Pause the video if you haven't. Okay, and if you said it has no moves because it can't jump over pawns, you are correct. And I'm just going to make you pause the video again. How does this piece, can it move on the first move? And if so, how many places can it move to and where can it move? Pause the video. And if you figured that out, remember, it's in an L shape. 1, 2, and remember knights can jump over pawns. They're the only... Ugh, I was about to say animals. They're the only pieces which can jump over pawns because they are like... They're animals. They're wild animals. They can jump over things. You know, like you try and jump over a tree. No, you like try and climb a tree and it's hard to do sometimes. But animals can climb over trees. It's like that, basically. It just goes like, you can't do it, king, you can't do it, bishop, you can't do it, queen, you can't do it, rook. Ha, I can do it. And like, ha ha. Anyway, that was childish. Okay, and then I can also come here. Anyway. Okay, so now you understand the aim of the game. I'll just show some... Okay, just remember in the chessboard, as white, the person who's playing white, the bottom right corner has to be a light coloured square. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the setup. I mean, you can tell right now, but like if you're playing a proper chess game, you need to remember this. You can always search up online, but this would be good to remember. So you should remember rooks in the corner, knights on the... Yeah, rooks in the corner. So imagine like castle. Do you know like a castle? They all have like guards on the sides or whatever. Like really tall things on the side. Try and remember it like that. There's a wall of pawns. 8 of them, yeah. On the 2nd or 7th rank. Depending on which piece you're playing. And white will... Oh no, sorry. Try and imagine it like soldiers. Do you know like soldiers in an army? They will always fight first. Okay, yeah. Okay, and now it's the queen on the colour of the square. No, it's a white queen, so it's on a white square. It's a black queen, so it's on a dark square. That's all it is, basically. And you should try and think of it. I've heard of something. I think it's like the queen is in the colour of its own shoes or something like that. So just try and remember it like that. And the king is always next to the queen because they're both royalty, you know. And then you need to try and think of the bishops as like the advisory, so they'll be next to the king and queen. And then the knights are the stray animals, so they're kind of in between. Okay. The aim of a chess game. No, not chess game. Okay. Do you know the start of a game? I'll just go through some through some moves quickly. Don't worry, you'll understand this one day. Okay. So with this, this is called an opening section. Up to the moment, when the opening section is done, you need to try to control these 4 central squares, and potentially these squares as well. These are the squares you should be trying to control, and ideally, as a beginner, I would recommend the move E4. Remember? E4. So with chess notation, that's all it is. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, A to H. Look at the number. If for example I move this pawn here, look at it. A, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's A4. Okay. And usually people will respond the same thing, which is always generally good. So you might be thinking, oh, but I'm just following his tips and I don't even know what I'm actually doing. I'll tell you now. So the whole point of E4 is to control D5 and F5. So you're trying to control, remember I showed you the full triangle thing? So you're trying to control that. Already you've controlled 1, 2, 3. Because you've put pawn there, it's quite difficult for your opponent to, well, reach a hand out to get it. So now a natural move. Remember knights? They will attack pawns and move. They'll attack pieces and move the same. Yeah, the same. Okay. Remember L shape, or 1 square and 2 squares. 1 square and 2 squares. So 1 square and 2 squares, or L shape. Okay. You are now attacking this pawn. Remember? 1 square, 2 squares, and L shape. So if they just do something random here, you can take this. Oh, I forgot to talk about material, didn't I? Okay. In chess also, material is important. Okay, pawns are worth 1 point. You need to try and remember this as much as possible. Knights and bishops are called minor pieces and are worth 3 points, approximately. The rook is 5 points of material, and the queen is 9 points of material, and the king is infinite. Because if you win the king, you can't win the king, but like if you do, you win the game. Anyway, so you try and attack this pawn, and they'll try and defend it. The idea of the opening is to try and get your minor pieces out. Ooh. Oh, I forgot to show you something. Oh, okay. So there's a move where basically, if you clear all of these pieces, like I just showed you. Oh, oopsies, not that. It's examples. Okay, you can actually do something where you can move the king 2 squares. I'll try and show this. 2 squares, and then the rook will move over to the other side of the king. This is important because remember the king, you're trying to checkmate the king, so get the king under attack where the king cannot move, block, be blocked by another piece, or capture the attacker. So the idea is, if you're in the corner, you can move. There's just less attacking chances. If you keep your king in the middle, it's lots of squares for your king to be attacked in. Whereas if you castle, this is called castling. Your king doesn't have as many squares. Especially, let's do this. If you move the, ignore that. If you do this, look how many squares the king can be attacked on. Very little. And look how many pieces can come and defend. Even this piece. It's got so many pieces, so much potential. And, yeah. That's the idea. And there's another way where basically you can, if you clear out all of these pieces, which I'll quickly do now. I'll just quickly play some stuff. Remember, if like this, 1, 2, and the rook swaps over, then the king here can move 2 squares, and the rook swaps over. This tends to be there's no it doesn't tend to be bad. What I mean is, either of the castling sides aren't worse, because they're both just getting the king closer to the edge. This tends to be better. They both got their pros and cons, basically. This tends to be better because, one minute, I'm just seeing. Oh no, never mind. Sorry. Oh wait, did I miss? Oh yeah. No, not that. Oh yeah. Oh, not that one. Sorry, this is. Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, so it tends to be better because this rook, which can move horizontally. The idea of the rook is to try and get the rook onto a file. Remember, these called files, where it can control lots of squares. Let's say this pawn wasn't here, this queen wasn't there, this pawn wasn't here, and the queen wasn't there. This rook would control all 8 squares, and pieces would have a hard time trying to step on those 8 squares. So it'd control 8 squares on 64 squares. So you'd control an eighth of the board with 5 points of material. Remember, you start with, I think, about 30 something points of material. So to control that much with just 5 points, that's very good. However, with castling kingside, this is called kingside castling, or just normal castling. That's called queenside castling, or long castling. This can also be called short castling because you're castling the rook a bit shorter. I don't know, something. Also, the king side's smaller than the queen side because there's a queen there. Yeah, four of them. Oh no, well, I know. Yeah, anyway. So with this, it tends to be better because the king is towards the corner a bit more. Although the disadvantages obviously have to come here, and the disadvantage with castling queenside, remember, you need to move the king like this, especially if they start attacking you like this. Anyway. Oh man, it's been 24 minutes. I think I should stop soon. Okay. So what I would recommend for beginners is attack the pawn, and usually you should be trying for bishops. You should be trying to get active diagonals. Remember, they move diagonally. So if they play a move like this, which is perfectly okay, but not amazing, it's blocks in this bishop. So look at this bishop, it can only move 1 square. So, whereas if you move this pawn, you can move this bishop out. Sorry, you can move this bishop out before you block it in, and then you can bring this out. So bring this out here, and then bring this out to a square. What I recommend for beginners is bishop to c4. which is the Italian game. The weakest squares at the start of a chess game are on the right diagonal of the kings. Oh well, from White's perspective, like this, yeah. As Black, obviously, it's to the left diagonal. White is all the right diagonal pawn. So the idea of this is, it's not to take, like, imagine this, it's definitely not to take like this, because you just lose a piece for no reason, yeah? Definitely don't do that. Remember, you'd win 1 point of material, but you'd lose 3 points, so you'd be down 2 points of material, see? And that's not good, see? Anyway. So the idea is actually to try and attack the pawn here. The idea is to attack the pawn. And as a very primary beginner, people they'll go like this a lot. In which case you can take not with the bishop. Taking with the bishop is not good because you've got 2 pieces under attack, but that's complex stuff. It sometimes works when you take with the bishop, but in this instance it doesn't. You have to take with the knight. Because L shape. Remember? 1 square, 2 squares. 1 square, 2 squares. They're attacked at once. Are they? What? This is called a fork. Yeah? A fork is basically when you attack 2 pieces at once, and they're both of superior value to the minor piece which you're attacking it with. Actually, it doesn't always have to be, but it usually is. So now, if he doesn't want to lose the queen, your opponent, they'll have to move it to the only square available. And now you win a rook. See, you win 5 points of material, and if they try and do this or something. Oh wait, what? How would they just hang that? Sorry, I'm getting confused with myself. And now you just have 5, not 5. You have 6 points of material. You won 1 pawn yet? 1 point. Plus 5, 6 points. You're up 6 points of material, and this is very good. Okay, and another opening I would recommend is moving this pawn up queen 2 squares. And this is basically because takes. You're removing the center pawn to get aggressive development. 1 minute. Just give me a second. Just need to think about this. No, I want to talk about that. And you'll find out the vast majority of the time, you'll find that lots of opponents will just trade every single piece. Trading is basically when you give an equal piece for an equal piece. So if you notice, your opponent won a pawn, but you won it back. Your opponent won a knight, but you won it back. Okay, and this is considered to be quite good for the white player. Because the queen remember, the queen moves diagonally, vertically, and horizontally, and anywhere it wants, basically. So, well, we'll just make something up. See? Remember, it can't move past it, though. So, this is good because it's such a strong... so, look at all the squares that are controlled. Yeah. Just look at the central control for white, and now look at the central, remember this, and then, yeah, just look at the central control. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only 7 or 8 squares, which are actually, like, which are, like, literally non-attacked, so white will usually have a very good time. And yeah, if they try and attack your queen, remember, if you just leave that there, do something like this, they would win 9 points of material, and this would be bad for you. And remember, they don't just give points for pieces just randomly, just because they just thought, oh well, I wanted to. They do it because the queen is the most powerful piece, so they give it 9 points. It's like rating. Yeah, that confuses. It's fun. So here, if they play something like this, you would actually just move back, And remember, this pawn basically creates a hole. Yeah, I'm not gonna teach that. I'm still learning about that. Anyway, so let's just quickly recap. How did these move? Forwards. And how did they capture? Sideways. Diagonally, sorry. Not sideways. They don't capture sideways, remember? Unless you have something like this. Unless you have something like this, yeah? Where they can capture sideways. Because the pawn moves 2 squares, but you can capture it if it's only moved 1 square. That's called en passant. It's called in passing in French. It's in passing in French. And then how do these pieces move? These are knights. They move 1, 2, or L. They can move anywhere, and they can jump over pawns. How do bishops move? Diagonally. So what does this control? It controls these squares. Yeah. And how do rooks move? Ignore that. Wait, actually, in this position, don't look at the lines. What's the best move for black? Oh, pause the video and try to find out. Well, if you found out, remember bishops move diagonally, so you can actually capture this. So you'd win 5 points. Black would win 5 points, and you'd only win 3 points. So it would be better for black. Anyway. We'll just ignore that because I'm just making some things up. Oops. Okay, we'll just ignore that. How do rooks move? How do rooks move vertically and horizontally? So rooks can move this way. They can't move through pieces. Nothing can move through pieces except for knights. Okay. And finally, we're going to talk about the queen. How does the queen move? We're going to move here. Oh, a minute. Sorry, I'm just... Okay, so... This is an opening, I'm surprised. This isn't a good move because your queen can be attacked easily. Anyway, how can the queen move? Just ignore that. The queen can move any direction it wants. Yeah, it can't move here though. Remember, it can only move horizontally, diagonally, and vertically. And it can't. Remember, only knights can. Yeah, only knights can move over pawns and pieces. Okay, and how does the king move? How does the king move? Yeah, king moves one direction, 1 square in any direction. Remember, wait, pause the video and tell me why you can't move the king here. Well, if you figured it out, it's because the bishop would be here, and the king would be moving itself into an attack. And remember, the aim of the game is to get the king into an attack where it cannot move, so it will be inevitably captured. So you wouldn't want to. It's illegal move. That's called an illegal move. And when it happens in a tournament, if you play 3 or more of them, you will be disqualified from. No, something I don't know. But they would have to reset the clock and get back to the original position. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed. Hope this was instructive because, well, this is quite long, I've got to say, and I've spent quite a while doing this, and I've worked quite hard. Anyway, hope you enjoy, subscribe, and make sure more people watch this, because we need people playing chess. Come on, chess is good, people, you know it. You know chess is good. So much opening theory, middle game, end game, and everything. Subscribe for more Vichess out.